This is Koyesha Mukherjee, founder and CEO of The Leading Youth. We are a youth leadership platform based in London and operating globally, where we are trying to upskill and empower students and young professionals in much needed soft skills. And when we say soft skills, I actually like to call it power skills, as that's what helps define not just who we are, but also helps define in many ways our higher education as well as career trajectories. So we do a lot of things from training and mentoring to masterclasses, one of which we are doing right here just now today, where we are recognizing our youth leader of the month for November, Manan Singh. So a brief introduction about Manan before I hand over to Manan. So the reason why we have Manan here with us today as the youth leader is because as a 20 or 21-year-old, Manan is already doing amazing things. Manan is the founder of Young Minds, and he's also currently an undergraduate student at OP Jindal Global University in India, where he's pursuing his BA honors in liberal arts and humanities with a major in history. Now, that's some of his current designation, but Manan also has a long list of achievements to his name, which is what also is really inspiring about him. And I'm pretty sure is going to inspire many young people who are going to be tuning into this conversation. So Manan has had a quite good set of working experience already at this young age, having secured an internship in the agriculture vertical of Niti Aayog, as well as winning several prestigious fellowships like the UN Millennium Fellowship, the Peace Kong Fellowship, and participating in a variety of other conferences, conclaves, and panels. I'm sure I could dedicate a whole few minutes to just talking about Manan's achievements, but I'm sure for those who have been following us can catch up on all the details about Manan on our website. But for now, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Manan, for your time today. Looking forward to a really engaging discussion on the theme of our masterclass, which is to create impact as a young leader, for which you already are leading by example. So thank you so much. It's an honor to have you with us on our platform. And with that, I'm just going to hand over to you for a quick few welcome remarks.
Thank you very much, Koyesha ma'am, for having me actually, and for an extremely kind introduction given by you. It is actually an honor for me to be recognized as the leader of the month, and I think it's just continuous work that I've been putting in that you are calling as achievements, and I consider that at this young age, or as my roommate has recently been quoting, that we are 20-year-olds, and why shouldn't we be working? So yesterday we were actually in Delhi and we were attending a couple of events and meetings, and he kept on telling both of us that Manan, we are just 20-year-olds, we can do this. So I think he's right in saying that. And we are just 20-year-olds, we are just trying to put in the work that we can and utilize our energies to the best.
Absolutely. It's never too early to start working and getting exposure and experience, and which is why you are leading as an example yourself in the space. So, delving straight into the topic of our masterclass today, which is making an impact as a young leader. Now, I think the reason we chose this topic for this month's masterclass is because having spoken to you, Manan, and obviously, your journey and everything that you have done so far in such a young age is hugely inspiring. And like I said at the beginning of this session today, that this is going to hopefully help many young people around the world make certain career choices and higher education choices in terms of alternative career paths that people can pursue, as well as how is it that they can stand out when it comes to skill sets and make a difference in their own unique ways in their respective communities. So maybe starting on that inspirational note about your personal journey. So, can you share what inspired you to start Young Minds and become a founder at such a young age? And how would students pursue leadership through this is kind of the main objective we would want to understand from your journey.
Definitely. I think I'll respond to this question in three stages because I don't think there is one particular incident that inspired me to start Young Minds, but a couple of them, beginning with my interaction with the development space since a very, very young age, and me being involved in a lot of volunteering programs since childhood, which instilled the passion in me to uh, to give back to the society, to give back to the community. And I was, before even coming to my undergraduation, I was pretty sure that I wanted to work in the social development space, and with the intervention of public policy. Post that, within my first year, I think we had a course called the Interdisciplinary Seminar 1, where we had couple of field visits. During those field visits, what I realized was a gap in education, primarily in government schools in India, where they had to change schools, and also then the curriculum that was there in the middle school in government schools was something which, considering the kind of education we were getting, was not, uh, I believe, up to the mark for children to be able to hone themselves and for their holistic development. So that gave rise to Young Minds Dream. Young Minds has two projects, Young Minds Speak and Dream. And with Young Minds Dream, then we work with government school students on their personal growth and capacity building through 21st century skills, which is capacity building, creative thinking, critical thinking, creativity, communication skills, and collaboration. So the four C's of 21st century skills. And then I would also, in this, actually try to bring in one anecdote, which really uh, brought me to the conclusion that I really want to work with youth and children in particular. Was so during one of these winter donation drives during in I think 2021, I was in Lucknow itself, and near a very prime market in Lucknow, there was this public toilet opposite which there was a house, not a house, but like a temporary settlement made by the cleaners of this public toilet. And there were two men, and with these two men, there was a child who was, I think, if I'm not forgetting, was writing something in a Hindi notebook. I had an interaction with his father, and I asked him that, does he go to school? Is he getting online classes during this period? And his response was actually shocking for me, and something that I was taken aback by, that where he mentioned that though he has not been able to get education, online education, because the school is shut during COVID, etc. But he said it does not matter if he is able to get a proper education also, because at the end of the day, he has to come back and do what I have been doing. So I think that kind of a mindset was something that was really troubling for me. And I wanted to work or bring a change in that mindset. I wanted to do something that people don't think that they have to continue living in that kind of an environment which their previous generations have been. And that is why what Young Minds aims to do is to enable your young people as agents of change for their local communities. And when I say that, it means that they know that there are resources available, and then they know of skills that they can work on to not only make a better living for themselves, but also for their families and communities around them. Because that mindset is, I think, not only troublesome for them as an individual, for them as a family, as a unit, but also for a country which is on the path of growth and to now is the fifth largest economy in the world, and is uh, in the verge of becoming the third largest. So I think as a country, for us to grow, each of us have to contribute into it, and one of us has to participate. And it cannot happen when there is such a mindset that we will not be able to make a better living for ourselves. I think so. Education in such a place then has to instill hope in that individual that they can do something better, and through that hope in this individual, that hope has to come within the family. And as in India, you would know that every next generation is seen as a ray of hope, and I think that is all around the world, not just in India. So that is why then Young Minds focuses on the youth. And I'll also just quickly highlight upon what Young Minds Speak does, because I've primarily spoken about Young Minds Dream. So Young Minds speech actually emerged out of me having completed the Millennium Fellowship. So the idea behind it is that young change makers, people who have uh, just started their own initiatives. So the word or the phrase I use is budding young change makers, uh, who want to build their own projects, who are solving their own problems in their local communities, get mentorship and guidance from an early age so that they are able to build a strong foundation and which help them grow and expand as an organization. Because as a young individual, what I realized that there was not a lot of mentorship resources available, though the Millennium Fellowship had provided us with a couple of resources, and I was fortunate to get mentorship from back home as well. But when I saw in a larger community, that kind of a mentorship was not very widely available and not very accessible. So we wanted to invite in experts who could guide young people to help them grow, as well as then while we create this community, it also builds a platform for them to collaborate, because the social development is a space where you collaborate, and it's, I think, one of the only sectors in on this planet where everyone's end goal is the same. Everyone wishes to make the planet a better place to live in, and it's the only space where no one is competing with each other. So when no one is competing, why don't we come together to collaborate and enhance our impact? So that is the idea behind Young Minds, and that is, I think, the journey uh, of of the two projects of Young Minds as well.
That's amazing and really interesting to even hear about that story you said, and how is it that the idea was sparked, and it's truly fascinating. So, tell me, where did you get that motivation of that leadership spark in you? How did you maybe develop that interest or the courage even to take up such a huge responsibility as a founder at such a young age? Did you face a certain challenge or setback that led to this leadership position in you?
So one thing I was really fortunate with, that I had been working with a lot of organizations since my school time. And as a person who has been, to an extent, as a student who has been overactive in school, who used to participate in a lot of events, also had a couple of leadership positions. And then the kind of grooming I had, what I realized um, is that if there is something that you find needs to be changed, or if you think that something needs to be done, you can't just sit back and continue to complain. An action needs to be taken. And if an action needs to be taken, why not you are the one who takes that action? So that is the idea with which I began my own initiative, because I thought, what worse may happen? I make a mistake and may fail. That is all that can happen. But I can then learn again from that mistake and maybe come back better. But at least I will be contributing to the change that I made, and not just sitting back and continuously complaining about that, oh, this is not happening in the world. Because to make an impact, we need to contribute to that impact. And I think, how, as Mahatma Gandhi ji mentioned, I'm not able to remember that quote exactly, but if I'm not wrong, that quote is somewhere around, to see the change that you want to see in the world, you need to become the change. So we wanted to become the change and make an impact.
Very rightly said. And it's, yeah, be the change you want to see is what Mahatma Gandhi, our father of the nation, has very rightly mentioned, and a quote to live by, and something that continues to, inspire people even till this date. So, yeah, I mean, it's truly fascinating to, learn about how all of us are in many ways influenced by leadership qualities and traits in different ways and different career paths that we are in. So I guess just continuing on that theme of leadership and mindset of how you develop those leadership traits, what role do you think, Manan, empathy plays in leadership, and how can young people develop this important skill set of empathy as a leader?
Empathy, I think, in the kind of work that I have been doing, or in any space that you see, be it corporate, be it the social sector, or be it the public sector, empathy plays one of the most integral roles in not only managing the team, but also in working with the kind of people or with any person you are working with. Because no organization, no initiative is of a single person. It includes a number of people. It may be small, it may be just one another person, but if there are other people involved, you need to consider what their beliefs are. You need to be considerate towards them in general. You need to consider especially what they want. So for even a corporate, when they need to serve the purpose or make a business out of any product, they need to realize uh, what is the requirement in the market. And I think for design thinking also, empathy is one of the key uh, one of the phases of the five phases for design thinking. And in any space, you need to actually first empathize with the audience, then also empathize with your team members, because each and every one has their own life. Each one has their own purpose, and you need to be considerate towards each and every person that has been involved in your journey. So I think empathy has been one of the most integral parts and one of the most important realizations for me, that how important it is to for you to be able to empathize with everyone, so that they are also uh, in the position to come along in your journey, and it does not become troublesome for them. And then in the second way, where you are serving people, you are also serving them with the things that they require and not what you think. So, or what do you think that is required, if I have to phrase it that way? And to respond to the second part of the question, that how can one learn about empathy? I would say it comes. I don't think there is a course that can teach you empathy. It comes from within, and it comes with working also, where you realize. And there is something which we actually do in the Young Minds, one of the modules as well, where we make them fill a worksheet of 5 sentences that you like to hear, 5 sentences you do not like to hear, and 5 actions that you like, and 5 actions of others that you dislike. The idea is that if there is something that you don't like, how why do you have to repeat that action for someone else? Because if there is something you do not like, the others also won't. So empathy, I think, builds in from within and from self introspection, and with that idea that if I'm feeling bad because of something, and if I want to be heard, others also want the same. So that idea of community, and that if you don't other uh, if you prevent from yourself from othering people around you, I think gradually empathy will build, and you need to just enter into an atmosphere with an open mind and not with preconceived notions. Then you will automatically be able to listen to people, make them feel comfortable, and then make your actions also in accordance to what uh, they require, and what is also necessary for that environment to flourish. So I think that is how empathy can be built, and I hope there is a course on empathy that can teach empathy. But I'm afraid even if you teach something through a course, a person may or may not be able to implement it. So it has to come from within.
So, empathy definitely is something that is very much a human virtue. It's something that everyone is born with, but probably do not realize to their full potential, which is where the concepts of emotional intelligence, etc., come in. And it's very much talked about these days everywhere. And that's something that we are working on as well as part of the Leading Youth by incorporating these elements into our training modules in terms of emotional intelligence and how exactly these things work. Because I think even the awareness sometimes can do huge wonders for a person to realize their own potential, which is why discussions like this are hugely beneficial for young people to be aware that empathy is actually a trait that exists in everyone, We just need to be able to recognize it, self reflect, like you said, and be able to incorporate that virtue in different scenarios that life throws us into. So I guess talking about all of these different things that you're doing while being a student yourself in your final year of undergrad. So as a student leader, juggling academics, internships, and leadership responsibilities as a founder yourself, how do you manage your time effectively? I'm sure this is a $1 million question for every student who usually tend to struggle with balancing time. So please tell us, Manan, what does your daily schedule look like and how are you organizing your schedule?
I think that is a very interesting question for all of us. I also try to juggle around with how I should manage my time more effectively and how I should plan daily even better. But something that I started to do is I make a priority list of things that are important. And I make a priority list for which is a month long, a week long, a day long. And it's not necessary that though it is suggested or recommended that you make the priority list on paper or on an app on your phone, but even if you have it in your mind, that is fine. But so it helps you understand what tasks or what sections of the task need to be done first. For example, if you have exams coming in and you play sports as well, I have been a state level basketball player. You need to realize uh, that okay, I have exams and my sports is also a priority. But if I have to pay importance to my exams and I want to also work on academia, I, during this 1 month, I will have to contribute more time to academic. So my sports time reduces because not only is it does sports involve or any activity involves time, it also involves energy. So what you need to you cannot equate your daily plan just on the basis of time or the clock, but also the energy that you are putting into something. And then you gradually build your daily roughly timetable. I have started also making checklists so you know your deadlines. I am a person who works better with deadlines. So if you tell me that a task need to be done by this day, I will be able to work better on it. Otherwise, I also am a person who may okay say, oh, I have time to do this task. And that is part of prioritizing. So if you have time to do with to complete a task, you can keep it secondary or it can be lower on your list. But if there is also a task which has to be completed tomorrow, that has to be on the top of your priority list. So to manage your time best, I would suggest prioritize and then also understand what you are getting out of your contribution. So if you are interested in music, it is not like you keep listening to music for 3 hours in a day. Then that cannot be part of your prioritizing. But if you want to become a musician, then you will have to listen to music for 3 hours a day because you have to learn by listening to music. You need to listen to the intricacies. You need to keep listening to maybe the same song again and again. And when I also play the tabla, and I've been playing that for the past 13 years. So when we have performances and we are performing with someone, there is a particular song that we need to perform, and I've never performed that before. I will have to listen to that song a couple of times to understand what needs to be done with that song to make it better. So the crux of it is prioritize, and as many tasks that you want to do can be done in the time you want to do if you put in the work. So just utilize your energy properly. And while doing that, also rest your body properly because to produce the best result, your body has to be in the best shape. Just like a mobile phone, the battery reduces with time. It needs to be recharged every time. So give your phone or give your body the time to relax, to recharge so that it produces the best output.
Very wise words. And what would you advise students who are probably hesitant to even take up any such leadership roles while they are a student because they fear that it's going to affect their studies or academic performance?
My only response to that question would be that Yes, it may, but what if it does not? So until you, there is another very popular quote that uh, all all the actions that you do not take are obviously ending up becoming a failure, right? So you have to take that action to understand that does it affect you or not. If you do not take that risk, you will never be able to see or never be able to know what the result of that action would have been. So you need to take that leap of faith, and in case if you think it is affecting your academics and you will have to delay something, you can do that as well. Because in case you're doing it for your own project, it is your own baby. It is your own project. You can say that, okay, right now I don't have the time where I'll be able to do justice to not only the project but also the people I'm catering to through it. I will take maybe a year off because I know what I want to do, but I might not be able to do justice to it. So, and I'll come back to it after the year. But at least try, because you never know. You may be able to manage it better, and it may help you in your academics also. There are so many things I've learned on the field. There is so much research that I have put into our own project, which has later helped me with my academics, with so many of my assignments, with my presentations, and even with the research papers that I have worked on. So many a times we just fear taking that leap of faith, and that fear needs to go, because at worst, failure, if you know that failure is the worst that can happen, anything which is not failure is better than that. So just take that leap of faith and see what happens.
Absolutely. So we've spoken about a very essential, skill set here, which is time management, and a little bit of organization and discipline as well comes into all of this, because I think we all end up becoming a slave of our habits. So knowing how to be disciplined on a day-to-day basis goes a long way in building and cultivating good habits that will effectively produce the results and goals that we all are working towards in our respective lives. So I think in under that theme of soft skills, maybe tell us, Manan, what do you think are the top three soft skills every young leader should cultivate and why?
The first skill I would say is communication, because as a leader, the first thing you need to do is you need to tell your story, or the work you are doing, you need to delegate tasks properly. You need to, the community you are working with, you need to work with them. And the first thing you need, the primary tool in your toolkit would be communication, be it written, be it verbal, but communication is essentially important. Second skill, and I think I'm going back to the 21st century skills, but they are important. Second skill, I think, will be critical thinking and problem solving. Reason being, as a leader, you may encounter various tasks, various issues on as you go, and you will have to be on your toes to solve them. So you will have to think critically, you will have to evaluate the situation immediately, and will have to come with a solution to the problem in hand. So second skill would be critical thinking and problem solving. And thirdly, I think, I'm not sure if it's a soft skill, but will have to be passion. You will have to be passionate towards what you are doing. You will have to, and keep that passion or keep that fire burning within you, so that you are dedicated towards the cause that you are working towards, and you are able to put in your 100% effort into the work you are doing. So these are the three skills I think are most important, and I'm not sure if the third one is a skill, but yes.
In a lot of ways, yeah, I think if also having that awareness of what exactly is your passion and where your interest lies goes a lot into the category of leadership, because leadership is also self leadership. Before you manage a team, it's about how you are a leader and for yourself, and how you're managing your inner core before you manage the outer world. So I think within that realm of inner core is where your passion and interest lie as well. So I think it all falls under the broader category of leadership. So all of that is, yeah, pretty great. And also, Manan, since you're doing a really great course in liberal arts as well, which I think is great because it's also an offbeat path. And especially in a country like India, where there's a lot of demand for, trodden paths like engineering and medical, I'm always glad to meet young people who are pursuing other courses outside of the mainstream ones. So maybe tell us how your liberal arts course has helped you develop some of those critical soft skills in your leadership journey so far.
Thank you for realizing how difficult it is to pursue a liberal arts education in India, and not because your family may not support. And I was very grateful that my family did support me to pursue such an education. But many a times, even in our college itself, people were like, "Oh, you're just studying liberal arts. What do you study in that even?" Right? But one of our professors, actually, before joining the university, he had come to Lucknow for an open house, and he uh, compiled the entire course in one statement, which I consider to be a actually an amalgamation of what liberal arts is. And he said that it is like the Gurukul education India used to have previously, where you study, like Arjun studied or learned all how to use all the weapons, but he mastered how to use a bow and arrow. So liberal arts education is, I think, just like that. And what it has done for me, and this I think will be now the third soft skill that I would like to recommend, is you will have to keep learning, never stop learning, and that learning attitude is, I think, the third skill. Because what liberal arts has done to me, where in my first 3 semesters I studied all humanities courses, from history to economy to political science to philosophy, psychology, mathematics, even design thinking is part of our syllabus. So it gives you a broader perspective to look at the world. It helps you look at the world from a very interdisciplinary perspective. And not, when I say interdisciplinary, it is not academically, but you open your mind to possibilities. It, I think the purpose of education, especially in liberal arts, is not for you to learn the date or the time of an event, but it is to how to look at the world, and that is what humanities also does for you. So liberal arts, and especially with the humanities field of liberal arts, which is I think it has been one of the most important parts of my life, and in the past 3 years, that I've been able to look at the world very differently, especially being a person who's majoring in history, and there are actually only majors in history in the entire course, which makes it two people studying history full time out of 12,500 people in the university. So being two people out of the entire university studying history full time, you also need to explain why you're doing that. And there is this book by E.H. Carr called What is History? Helps you explain that history is not just about dates. And what is there in history, what you read, just maybe what is mainstream history, is not the entire story. I'm just giving this explanation of the book to as an example for how humanities help to look at the world differently. And there is this section in the book where E.S. tries to illustrate that uh, there are facts and there are historical facts. So there are a historian is presented with a plethora uh, of facts, and or rather he has a buffet of facts in front of him, and he picks up the facts, or they pick up the facts which fit their story and put it into the book or the piece they are writing. So at the end of the day, the idea that gets communicated from this part of the book is that there are things that are even beyond what has been written. So you cannot negate the possibility of other things happening. You need to look at the world from a multidisciplinary perspective, and be open to possibilities of other things and work accordingly. So liberal arts that way has been really helpful in how me looking at the world has changed and how I look at smaller things and bigger things has changed. So that is what liberal arts for me is.
That's amazing. And I hope a lot of young people listening about this will now start considering and taking up courses in liberal arts and history. And really an anomaly there to be just the one out of two students in your university studying history. I think that in itself deserves an applause because it's a brave decision to take the road less traveled by and still make a difference. So well done. That's definitely something to be really proud of. And I think there's always so much to learn from our history or the history of the world generally as well. So I think it's a dying art is how I would label history because there's so many perspectives that we can learn and become wise in if we look at how our ancestors have lived in the past. So I think it's a great choice personally and something that I would also want to pursue maybe in my next life now because I've done a couple of degrees and I want to take a break for now. But then I think talking about opportunities and growth. So Manan, you have had incredible opportunities to sort of intern at Niti Aayog and be part of the UN Millennium Fellowship. So can you advise students listening to this conversation what steps can they take to secure such prestigious opportunities as a student?
Definitely. So the first thing I always recommend anyone who asks me that how do you get to know about opportunities is I would say have a LinkedIn. And having a LinkedIn, many people also presume that LinkedIn is just like any other social media app where you keep posting about your achievements, or you need to have done something to have a LinkedIn so that you can teach people. I'm I don't think LinkedIn is for that. LinkedIn is a platform for you to learn from other people, and to also then secondly put up the work you have been doing because it also then builds your profile and it becomes a link that can be sent to anyone to share about the work you have been doing or for them to better understand your profile as your professional profile in particular. But LinkedIn simultaneously I think has become the hub for all the opportunities that are there. So if you follow a couple of key pages on LinkedIn itself and then subscribe to a couple of newsletters on LinkedIn, you will more or less have the access to most opportunities, and then you can keep applying to them through various. So some of them have interview rounds, some of them are just written applications, and they keep on differing from each other. Some of them may ask you for assignments, but I think having a LinkedIn is the first tip I have. Then obviously second one is to keep looking at Google, stay up to date with also the news if possible, because now the Hindu or various other newspapers also keep posting about opportunities that may be or national level challenges that may be happening or some big government scheme that may be coming up. So you can stay up to date with opportunities on the newspaper as well. I think those are the three key places where I've been able to access most of the resources, because you can also you while getting the access to opportunities, you get access to resources, to courses which help you keep on making yourself eligible for these opportunities also. So I think LinkedIn is, I will come back to LinkedIn and say it's the best place. You can learn from other people who have received those opportunities, what have they done to get it, connect with them to know how they have gotten it, and also then know about when when these opportunities are open for you. So that would be my first tip, and the tip I will most emphasize upon.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the tip of the century, at least for now, because if any of us here are active on LinkedIn, you will know how important, just like Manan has described, it is to be active on LinkedIn. not just so much for the sake of obviously finding opportunities for professional development and stuff, which is how LinkedIn advertises itself, but it's beyond that. It's just it's a knowledge sharing platform. There's so much to learn, so many new ideas, perspectives to gain by following relevant pages and people who are doing incredible stuff that you may not have heard about even before. So yeah, I think we're doing a free promotion for LinkedIn here, but it's definitely the way to go if you are looking for professional as well as personal growth, and also networking, because I think that's also really a key trait to kind of grow your network and gain perspectives and kind of break the ice and learn from each other, especially as young people. I recognizing the wealth of your network and connecting with people from different courses, other batchmates or universities, or from different parts of the world can open up ideas in so many different ways. So I think it's definitely a fantastic tool to kind of be connected. So continuing on the theme of sort of your advice for aspiring young leaders, especially for those who are watching this masterclass and are still sticking around till now, what would be your one piece of advice you wish someone had given you when you started your leadership journey?
I would say I am fortunate that I don't have to say I hope someone would have given it to me. There is this quote by Swami Vivekanand, which my mother tells me has been telling me since childhood, and it's a long quote, but if you allow me, I'll quote a bit from it, and I had kept it prepared. I just
Sure,
like to
please
read
go on.
parts of it.
Yeah,
So
I'm a
it
big
is
fan of his quotes as well, and I have so many of Swami Vivekanand's books because I think he was a visionary young leader who has set the path for other young leaders. So please go on.
definitely. So the quote is all power is within you. You can do anything and everything. Believe in believe in that. Do not believe that you are weak. Do not believe that you are half crazy lunatics, as most of us do nowadays. You can do anything and everything without even the guidance of anyone. Stand up and express the divinity within you. So I think that's a very powerful quote, and that's a message which has kept me encouraged and has me motivated ever since. And I keep looking back at it whenever I feel that no, I cannot do this, and it helps me it stay away from that idea that no, there is something I cannot do, because there is everything and anything that I can do, and it is possible.
Absolutely. Such a powerful quote and, so relevant even till this date. And if you think about it, Swami Vivekananda actually lived 100, 200 years back, but to have envisioned the power that lies within all of us as individuals, and especially as young leaders, is, I think, something that every country around the world should sort of capitalize and recognize, because it's, the young people who are not just the future, but they're also the present and the today, and we are the young leaders of today. So I think recognizing and acknowledging that is so important. So yeah, very well said. So what do you think is the biggest misconception about leadership among young people, and how do you think we can change that?
I've responded to that question in a couple of research papers I have been writing, and there is actually an article which I published this year, and it got published on the 1st of January, which is youth leaders and politics. Are the youth just the leaders of tomorrow? So the biggest misconception, I think, regarding youth leadership is that they are too young to be leaders. It is popularly said that age is just a number, and I would say the same thing when it comes to young leaders, but that age is just a number. And because youth has their own perspectives, they are from a very different generation, they may look at the world very differently. And it is very important for them to be included on decision making tables, for them to be regarded as leaders. And while I say that, I though Swami Vivekananda's quote says that you can do it without anyone also, but what what is important for the world to do is to provide these young leaders with mentorship. Mahatma Gandhi, when he came into Indian politics, had a political leader. When Subhash Chandra Bose ji emerged as a youth leader, he had his mentors. So there is the people who are the young people who have made an impact. Even Bhagat Singh ji had Chandrasekhar Azad as his mentor. So it is rather than negating that, oh, you are too young to be a leader, it is important for experienced people to come in and say, okay, you are a young person trying to make an impact. I'll help you do it. I'll mentor you in your journey. And then I recognize you as a youth leader so that we negate that age aspect of it. So the biggest misconception is that we are too young to be leaders. I don't think we are too young to be leaders. We have what it takes to be leaders, and I do not deny that we may make mistakes because we certainly do not have the experience of that comes with age. And people who do can I request them to be mentors to us rather than saying that no, you cannot lead.
Very well said, and couldn't have agreed more. And this is exactly the reason why I've founded the Leading Youth, and I've made that the mission that everyone can be a young leader if they recognize their potential and give themselves a chance to take up that opportunity and not only guide others but also guide themselves in the process through the journey of life. And of course, the importance of mentors along that journey is very underestimated, but definitely something that goes a long way in supporting us as young people in our journeys. Okay, so we're going to do a quick rapid fire round now to end the session and also open up the floor to questions. So, those who are on the call with us, this is a cue for you to keep any questions ready for Manan. If you have any questions, you can come on camera and ask or drop a question on the chat as well. And while you're thinking about your question, I'm going to do a quick 1 minute of rapid fire round with Manan. So, Manan, are you ready?
I hope so.
It's going to be simple, so hopefully nothing very tricky. Okay, so then starting with the first question, one book that you think every young leader should read?
One book I would say is The Daring Youth, uh, the Daring Leader. I think it's the book on Bhagat Singh, and The Daring Youth of India, I think is the book by Colonel Ravindra Singh. A very
Great,
motivating book, and how he talks to his peers and how he keeps them motivated. I think a good book to read.
amazing. A quote you live by?
The Swami Vivekananda quote, I think all the power is within you and you can do anything and everything.
Amazing. One skill you are still working on as a young leader?
Honestly, all my skills, but because we are young, so we are working on all our skills. But if I have to pick on one, I would say, if I have to pick a skill, I would say that I would like to work more on being able to cater to a larger audience, to reach a wider audience and be able to impact larger populations. So, for an organization, when I say at an organizational perspective, growing as an organization is a skill that I'm continuously working on, and I would like to learn more on how we can expand organizations, make them bigger and larger. So yes, that.
Amazing. And what is your proudest moment as a young leader so far?
My proudest moment as a young leader would be when I work with kids and the joy that I see in them and the hope that I see in their eyes. And I think I mentioned that in our previous interaction as well, that the hope that they think that comes in their eyes, and they realize, and how they come up to me and say that this is something that really helped us and this is something that will keep with us. It's something and that I feel makes me a lot proud, and I feel very happy when I'm being able to impact people and to maybe help them a little.
Yeah, indeed, a very proud moment. And the last question, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't worry, it will happen. And the advice would be on the lines of that, it may be a rough path. You may make mistakes on the lines, but you just keep working and you'll be able to do something. You'll do well.
Amazing. Couldn't agree more. And this is, I think, exactly what I would tell my younger self as well. I think we all tend to be quite stressed and anxious all the time, but I think letting life take its course once in a while, and also obviously, continuing to put in your efforts along the way is the perfect combination to ensure that you are successful enough to meet your goals and objectives as a young leader.